Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's a couple minutes after 2. It's a little late just because I had to get Moose his treat before we went live. He's like, I was gone most of yesterday and he's very needy today. Very needy. Anyway, so how's everybody doing? Today was the big close to my heart like reveal for June, and it was that Lake Life paper, which everybody has just been clamoring for, looking forward to, could not wait. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but already the scrapbooking stamp set is sold out, and the die cuts are sold out, and oh, it's so sad. I don't think they're coming back because, you know, there was limited quantities. And the makers, the Close to My Heart maker Facebook group is still active, and people are basically using it to talk about when shipping is happening and that kind of thing. But wow, is it loaded today? Everyone's scrambling, wondering why there wasn't more product available. But we knew there wasn't going to be a lot of product for these Close to My Heart releases, but oh, it's so sad. So just so you know, I plan on showing the workshop. I did not get the scrapbook stamps, but I did get the card making stamps, and I also have that Hooked on Fishing stamp. I don't know how many of you got that. Let me see. This one, right before Close to My Heart closed. So I got this one, and I thought, well, I could use some of that. But the card making stamp has cattails and stuff in it. So I'm like, I don't know if I'll use that or not. But I just wanted you to know, if you're still gonna buy that, you know, at least if you want to work with me, get the workshop. So today, I don't usually do complicated cards, you guys. Everything is fairly simple. Even the fun folds are fairly simple. But this one is going to take a little more oomph because the measurements, it's the measurements. And so I want to show you what we're going to make today. It's called a tri-shutter fold card. And I want you to use this and take a screenshot so that you get my measurements. See my measurements up there? And I have written them out in my crazy writing, just so you can we're gonna make our own template. You can work with me. That way, if you're just watching and you come back later, you can make your own template and you'll have it. And you can write in the measurements and everything so that you'll have it. It's not a hard card to make. It's just time consuming because there's a lot of little parts. So let me just show you some of the cards I made. So this is what spawned it. I got a free paper pack from something I ordered. It was a Stamperia paper pack, not my style in that. It was Christmassy and it was pink and like lagoon color. And I was like, it's so weird because it had pink and green and gray and like a toffee-ish off-white color with it. And I was kind of like, how the heck did they do that? And I started flipping the papers around and I realized that a lot of the Christmassy looking paper had florals on it. And I'm like, well, that I can use. And it's spring colors, which is totally cool. And so I made this set of cards using that paper. And it was an 8x8 pack. And I basically used almost all of it. I threw away, I know, gasp, but I threw away like 3 sheets of it because it had that off-white color and it just didn't look good to me with these cards. And you can see I used my Stampin' Up dies, that the flowers that we made and the butterflies that we made in the past. And I was like, these turned out super nice. I just think these are great. I'm going to send them to JJ. I did do just a tiny bit of stamping. I used some of the really awesome clear gems from Stampin' Up. I liked how it looked like water drops or dew drops. Anyway, this is what I made. And then I was like, oh, I gotta show something completely Stampin' Up because it doesn't feel right to show all these other companies or whatever. So set that aside. So I used, I'm on my last couple of sheets of this Mediterranean Blooms paper. I love it so much. So I made this card using the Mediterranean Blooms. These lemons are from an old Close to My Heart set that had the stamps and dies. So that's where I got that. A lot of you have this sweet fruit set because it was so popular at the time. And then of course I used the citrus blooms die cuts. So here's the paper, that lemon, and then there's one of the dies. And then the little sprigs are dies. I added a couple of little butterflies. These are die cuts that I just glued on to give it like a little texture. And I just think it turned out great. So one thing I noticed after I decorated and stamped is I didn't really leave a place for me to write a message. So whatever I write will be short and sweet, or I'll write it on the back. But look how pretty. Oh, and I put a bow on there. I'm like, I have got to start using up some of my ribbon. Wow, I'm drowning in ribbon, you guys. So I thought this card was really sweet, and I want to make one using the Latte Love paper, the coffee papers, because those are online exclusives, and I just don't think they're going to be here much longer. And they've refilled them multiple times because they're so insanely popular. And I thought, okay, it's time for me to start showing them because you're not going to be able to get them much longer. And I'll put them in my stash and start making stuff with them. Anyway, let's make our template. So what you need is a trimmer. Now I got out this trimmer because I really want you to be able to see the markings well, and that's hard to do on my other trimmer. And then here's the other thing, okay? You need a good ruler. I don't care what kind you use, whether it's like a quilting ruler or just a straight up regular ruler, whatever you've got, the Close to My Heart ruler. I have a lot of rulers that I use all the time. And when I'm on camera, I tend to either use this one or this one because you can see it better. The Close to My Heart one is amazing, but on camera, you just can't see the markings. So I'm going to set that one aside just for a sec. And I want to talk about rulers because so many people freak out on this card because they do not understand how a ruler works. So let's make a ruler. Let's make an exaggerated ruler. Whenever you look at a ruler, let's just say this is the 1 inch mark, okay? 1 inch, like that. And and then here's a 2 inch, like just for scale, all right? We're just gonna make it really big, a big ruler, all right? So here's our 1, 2, 3. Whenever you look at a ruler, it is split in half. Everybody knows the 1/2 inch mark, right? So here's the 1 1/2 inch. Here is a 1/2. Here's 1 1/2. Here's 2 1/2, right? We almost all can split an inch in half. And on my quilt ruler, for example, the 1/2 inch marks, the inch marks are really solid, and the 1/2 inch marks are just a little less wide. So you can see 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, right? Okay, now the next thing they do is they split it in half again. So between the 1 and the 1/2, there is another mark. there is another half. And this is 1/4, and this is 3/4. So if you split an inch into 4 parts, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, right? A fourth, a half, a 3/4, and 2. Now here's the part where everybody gets lost. It gets split again. So let's split another little part in each part in half, and that splits that inch into 8 parts. So this is 1 of the 8ths. This is 2 of the 8ths. This is 3 of the 8ths, 4 of the 8ths, 5 of the 8ths, 6 and 7. So when you're looking at a ruler, you are looking at the littlest marks are usually 1/8 marks. Now, occasionally you'll get a ruler that's split again into littler pieces, and those are 16ths. So they take that inch and they divide it into 16 parts. So, okay, what's that mean? That means when I'm measuring on my ruler, I have this little teeniest mark right there. I hope it's not out of there. That's better. Okay. A 16th, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, an eighth, an eighth, an eighth, an eighth. And then if you see it, it's split even more. It's a 16th. Okay. So 1/8 of an inch is from like this big line, the inch mark, to here. That's 1/8. 1/4. 3/8, 2/4 or 1/2, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. So what I'm saying is you need to understand how to split an inch into 8 parts to make this card. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So that's why I kind of like this quilting ruler. Is it doesn't do the 16ths. It just takes every inch and splits it into 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So every little line on there is an 1/8 inch. That really makes life easier when you're trying to measure cardstock and pieces and parts, because you can look at it and go, oh, okay, that's 1 1/2. That's 1 3/8. I mean, you can measure that way. So I recommend looking for a ruler that has things on it that you read really easily, okay? This one's a little bit harder if you don't know your measurements, but okay. So that's my ruler thing, and now we're gonna start making the card. So let's start. I pulled out like 3 or 4 sheets of paper. This is 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and it's really heavy. But I really want to be able to show you from scratch how to make this card. So this card starts with a base that is 7 by 10 inches, okay? So we're gonna cut it, we're gonna move it to 7 and make that cut. This piece is a scrap, which we will use because we can use it for our messages and stuff. And then you turn it and move it to 10, 7 by 10. Okay, that is our base. Now, while we are cutting bases, let's go ahead and let's cut 2 more, okay? So we're gonna cut 7 by 10. You're probably wondering, why are you making so many? The reason, first I want to make one as a template, okay? One is just a thing that you're going to keep, that so it'll help you in the future make another one of these cards. The other thing though is that the more of these you do in a row, the more it sticks. Like if you make one, you'll be like, oh my God, never again. I'm never doing this card again. But this card isn't actually that hard. And so I really want you to make multiple at a time. All right, so you need a pencil. I got my Mickey pencil. The very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it vertically. Let me raise this up just a little. Okay, and then on each side of the paper, we're gonna make a 1.5 inch mark. Now this gets erased, so don't make it dark, you'll be sorry. What I do is I just move my ruler over 1.5 inches and I line up this line nice and straight. And then you're just gonna make a real light 1.5 inch mark, kind of in the center-ish of your paper. You can hardly see mine. Maybe I'll make mine really dark on this one, just so you can see. Don't make yours dark. You will be sorry. Okay, 1.5 inch on the vertical, and then we're gonna flip it and do the same thing, 1.5 inch on the vertical. And like I said, do not make it dark, make it super duper light, and you don't need it the whole length, you just needed a couple of little tick marks, but it's just easier to make a line. Super light there. Okay, now we are going to use a scoring board. And if you have the Stampin' Up trimmer, you'll have it made in the shade. But I use a board and a cutter and all the tools. So the very first thing we're gonna do is we're going to make a mark here at 3 3/4. So at 3 3/4, we're only going to score to our line, okay? Here. And I'm just gonna put pencil there so you can see what I'm talking about. And we're gonna write on it 3 3/4, and that's a score. And you'll know it because it'll say score. And then we'll go over to 6 1/4, and we're gonna do the same thing, just to our line, okay? 6 1/4, and make a score. Now, we need the same score down here at the bottom, but I don't know how good you guys are at lining this up. We don't want it in the middle, but it could be anywhere here to me. So my trick is to take my ruler and just line it up at that 3 3/4 mark where I made my top score, and make sure it's nice and flat, and then go down here and finish the score at the bottom, okay? And that is at the 3 3/4 inch mark. Do you see? Like that. So you have one at the top, one at the bottom, none in the middle. And now we're going to do the same thing at that 6 1/4 inch mark. You know how you went through and you made that score. Now we're going to jump down to the bottom and do it again. So we have 2 scores just on the edges. Okay, now we're gonna do 2 scores only in the middle. And the first one is at the 5 inch mark. 5 inches and only from line to line. Okay, right here. I'm sloppy, I'm sorry. Okay, so you have a score only from line to line. Now we're gonna move over here to 7 1/2 and do the same thing, only from line to line. All right, that's all of our scores, okay? And look at that. That's it. That is the card. So this is a tri-shutter. I wrote shitter. Ooh, shame, shame. Fold card. And the base is 7 by 10 inches. And you already see the score. And then here you're going to write 1 1/2 line. Will erase. Keep light. That's your message. So next time you make that card, you don't make a big dark line. Now is the point where we are going to make some cuts. So you can use your trimmer. I have used my trimmer to just slide it in there and make a trim, but it'll be easier for you to see on this board if I just do it here. Okay, so here I am with I am going to turn my card vertically, and I want you to see, here's the top score. Like it doesn't matter which end you hold up. There's a top score, like a 1, 2, 3, 4 scores, right? There's a bottom score and a top score, right? There. And then if you turn it, there's the top score and the bottom score. So you want to know where the top score is and the bottom score is. That's what you need to know. That's all. It doesn't matter which direction. You just need it vertical. Okay, so we're going to lay our ruler along that line, and we are only going to cut from score. I just use the groove of the channel to score, from the top score to the bottom score, and that is all. Okay, and then we're going to cut the other side. These are all the cuts on the base that we are going to make, these 2 cuts. And I just use my groove of my channel to do this. It doesn't ruin my board. I can't believe it, but and we're just going to use a blade, and we're going to go from the top score line down into a blade or into a groove, and then we're going to go to the bottom score line. So top score line to bottom score line. That's it. Ta-da! All right, so there's our base. Let me show you what you do now. This nice big piece right here is our front of our card, and this side is short, so you'll know. If you have it this way, it will be backwards because this will be in the back of your card. So you want this nice big piece on the front. So this is your front. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 scores. The top score, we're going to make into like a little mountain. And you don't fold it sharp yet. Just kind of get it started, pinch it a little. There's score 1. Score 2 is on the inside of the fold, and we want that to be a mountain. So we're just going to kind of start it. You don't have to do anything drastic, just a little pinch. So we have a mountain and a mountain. Then the third score is going to be like a little valley, and you're just going to do a little pinch. And then this score is in the middle, and it'll be a little valley. So do you see where we're going with this? It just kind of naturally it will want to fold on you. Do you see that? Mountain, mountain, valley, valley. It wants to fold. Let it fold. Before you burnish and everything, kind of line it up nice and neat. I could have scored that one a little better. And then basically you're just gonna kind of push everything down, flip it over, and do the same thing to the back. And look at that. You have your base card. Ta-da! All that's left now is decorating. And I say all like it's nothing, but it's a pain because every measurement is an 1/8. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. This is a 5x7 card, and I like this size, especially if you're going to use any kind of, like this front right here is nice and big, so it makes almost like a real card front size, like almost like an A2 size. It gives you a little more decorating room, and you can use these cool paper packs that have all this coordinating paper. Okay, I made a template. The only thing missing from my template is my measurements, and I did these measurements because it was killing me measuring over and over again. So this row is a measurement for a mat. You always will cut this row, even if you don't mat anything. This row is an inner, so like if you want to, let's just say you want to mat this little section with blue, and then you want to put a little white stamped piece or a pattern piece on top of the blue and leave an edge, that's what that's for. So this is always going to be cut, and this is just if you want to. Otherwise, you just leave a ton of white space. It doesn't look as good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead real quick. We're going to make our 2 other cards that we cut. And I just, again, want to kind of show you how to do that. So this time I am not going to draw my pencil lines dark, and you can see how little your pencil line needs to be. So I'm going to write it, it's at the 1.5 inch, your paper's vertical, and you're just going to real light do a pencil mark. And then you're going to go to the, flip it to the other side vertically. Here's your pencil mark. Now we're going to do this side, and we're going to do it again, okay? Real light. Okay. Ta-da! I have my 2 pencil marks. Now we're just ready to score. Are you ready? 3 3/4 we're going to do at the top and the bottom. And because I have my ruler in place, look how easy that is. We're going to slide over to 5 and only do the center between the lines. That's the one I didn't score as well last time. We're going to switch over to 6 1/4, and we're going to do above and below. And then we're going to go to 7 1/2 and do the center of the line. Got it? All right. There's 1 card. Let's do it again. You guys are probably like, why are we doing this? But I'm telling you, once you have made this card a couple of times, you'll be like, okay, I get it. And it's a lot more fun. The first time you make it, it's like, what the hell did she do to me? This is painful. And then it gets so easy because after you've made, if you make these a little bit assembly line, they're just easy, all right? So we did our 1 1/2 inch marks vertically, turn it sideways. Now we're ready to score. We're gonna score. Make sure it's nice and butted up at the top and the bottom. We're gonna score at 3 3/4 above the line and below the line. Above the line and below the line. Okay, don't do the center yet. Now we're gonna do 5 inches. That's only the center. So it just goes back and forth. There's 5. Now we go to 6 1/4 above the line and below the line. And then we go to 7 1/2, and that's between the 2 lines. Ta-da! That is our scoring, right? Now we're ready to cut. Now remember, when you cut, you're gonna go to your topmost score line, which mine is right there, and your bottommost score line, which mine is right there. And you're only gonna cut between the 2 score lines, okay? So I am going to cut from the top. I guess technically, if I use my groove, you can see it. So the top score line down to the bottom right there. And I'm gonna go in here, find a groove, top, down to the bottom, top to the bottom, and there's my cuts. Okay, let's get that other one in here. And we're gonna go from the top, let's just say you have it flipped the other direction. We're gonna go from the topmost score line to the bottommost score line. Here's the top, all the way to the bottom. Here's the top. Gotta get into a groove. And go to the bottom. Okay. Top to the bottom. Top to the bottom. All right, I'm gonna put my scoreboard away. What do you guys think so far? Is that crazy? It probably feels crazy. All right, here we go with our big, nice panel to the left-hand side, because that's the front of our card. Before we do that, let's real quick erase our lines. They will show, and they're hard to erase after you fold. You can see you don't need a lot of line, and I always draw more than I need. So you can certainly draw less line and be just fine. As a matter of fact, some people who do this card make all these measurements and just make a tick mark, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of work. I'd rather just erase a line. So, and especially if you write it, you know, small, if you make it light and small. Okay, left-hand side, big panel, that's our base. We're gonna make a mountain. Next one is in the middle, and we're gonna make a mountain. And remember, I'm not pinching these very hard. The next one is on the edges, so I'm gonna make a little valley. And then this one, I'm gonna make a little valley. And the whole thing wants to fold together. Do you see that? So I'm gonna move it together. I'm gonna make sure it's nice and lined up. And I'm gonna use a bone folder or a scoring tool. Some people use like old credit cards to do this. Some people use their rulers just to burnish, just get everything burnished down. Okay, there's card one. Boom, boom, we have a base ready. Let's do this one. Now this one I have it turned wrong because here's my big card front. I'm gonna flip it, ta-da. Okay, so fold one, we're making mountain. Fold two is in the center, we're gonna make a mountain. Fold three is on the edge, we're gonna make a valley. And fold four is in the middle, and we're gonna make a valley. And look, ready? Kind of move it together. Make sure it's nice and lined up. The truth is, if it's not perfectly lined up, I don't think it's the end of the world. But it's nice. It's just nice to, after you do all that work, to have it all perfect. All right, so look, ta-da. Okay, let me show you the card again. So you can see how that base looks and then the card. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna decorate each section. And yeah, it looks crazy to do that, but it's not as bad as you think. And especially if you have like three or four of these made, because once you cut that piece, you just shuffle them out and glue them together, and they come together fast. So that's why I made 4 of the other card, is because once you have these crazy measurements down, the rest of it is like easy, easy. Okay? All right, I gotta take a drink. That was rough. Woo, woo, what do you think? Sally. You are a teacher. I bet you can read a ruler better than anybody here. All right, I'm gonna set these aside for a moment, and I wanna show you the papers that I wanna use. So these are the Cafe Latte, I think it's called, or Latte Love, or something like that. I keep making up names for it because, well, you know, I just do. Measurements flew by too fast. Oh gosh. Well, that's what a screenshot is for right there. I'll put a picture of this on this post also. And that way you guys can just refer back to it. The first time you make one, make a template. Promise me you will. It's so much easier. So these are the fronts and backs of all the papers. And I was kind of looking, and I'm like, this coffee cup one is a really popular one because it's beautiful. But because when you buy the stamp set and dies to go with it, the die cut in this set fits the little coffee cups. And so you can cut these little coffee cups and use them as decoration. So that's why this is missing a little piece, is because I started cutting a couple of coffee cups because I wanted to show that to you. There's also dies in here to make other parts. There's like a French press. There's a sideways, large sideways cup, little tiny cups. There's a coffee pot. And this brings back so many memories of getting up early with my dad to put the snow plow on his truck. Oh my gosh, I was always the one that crawled under the truck in the middle of winter to put the snow plow on. And he always had coffee going in the morning, and I was like, ugh. I like it now, but I didn't like it then. He tried to get me to like it because he knew I was going to be an early bird person. Anyway, there's little coffee beans and a spoon, and these little ovals are like the coffee that goes into the cup. So I'll show you that in a minute. There's also stamped images that coordinate, but you know, if you didn't have the dies at all, just the stamps alone are awesome. So we are going to use those for sure. My decorations that I kind of had in mind, I grabbed a Starbucks whatever, and I thought, you know, honestly, if you don't like Starbucks, just flip it inside out and use the other corrugated side, right? I had this old doily that I stained with ink to make it look like spilled coffee. I thought that would be kind of fun. I made a couple of the little French presses, and I used this copper ore paper. Remember the copper ore that Close to My Heart carried for the longest time? I just thought it was really pretty, and it goes with the paper. Like when you look at that paper, it's got like a little bit of an orangey fall look to it. Here's one of the coffee cups I cut out of the paper. Look how amazing those look. It's so great. It's like the art is all done for you. I made a couple of coffee pots. Now, Steve brought me home a bunch of vellum, and the vellum that he brought me is pretty thick. And when I tried to put the coffee behind the vellum, it didn't even hardly show. The vellum was too thick. So I think if you had that real flimsy vellum that's super sheer, you could put your coffee behind the vellum and make it look like it's under glass a little more. Here's the little tiny coffee cups, and I thought, how fun would this be? You know, these coffee cups are so cute. I'm just going to move it up there. See how cute those are? And I thought it would be really cool to even just use my white gel pen and, you know, make the little swirl marks in the mug, in the coffee like that. Oh, I love it. I cut a couple of spoons. I was going to cut the spoons out of, like gray or silver, but I just wanted to stick with the theme, and I made them copper. These cups I just cut, and they need some dolling up. These definitely need like the white highlights in here. They need something, okay? So feel free to play around with that. The other thing that I made, and I got a fun idea for these, is I made a whole bunch of coffee beans. Some of them I cut out of espresso paper, and some of them I cut out of my scrap from, like, these lighter colors are cut from my scrap of this coffee paper, the edges, instead of throwing it away. You know, I'm all paranoid about throwing away everything. Let me see if I have that scrap in here. I don't. Not easy. Anyway, it's just the edges of this paper so that it would all coordinate. So these are the pieces I have to decorate with. I'm going to set those aside because I'm nowhere near ready. for that. And how are we? Oh gosh. Okay. And I did go ahead and I cut out a bunch of stuff, you know, ahead, but I didn't cut out my messages. So we can decide on messages later. All right. So all we need to do is decide on the main papers that we want to use for each card. So when you look at the card, the main color that shows is going to be like your bold. The main color is this front. Whatever you use for the front is going to show. And then when you open it, this panel, I didn't even decorate really, so it shows a lot. And these will be probably pretty even. Let me grab one of the others. See, like when I use the whatever dark color you use, it shows the most. So I tried to make it the color even through the whole thing and not use like 20 patterns. But really on this particular one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 patterns on here, which is, well, 7 if you count the design. So, you know, do what you wish, right? Good, Stephanie, good. Okay, so we just need to decide what we want on the front. If I'm going to decorate the front with the cute little coffee cups, the background just needs to be plain. And so I think it could be this paper, it could be this paper, it could be the splotches. Oh, I love the splotches. Let's put the splotches as one of the patterns. I think that's cute. And let's do these little coffee cups as one of the patterns. And then how about if we make this one these crazy colors right here, these 3. Let's pick these 3 to start. I kind of like this one. Okay, let's make it these 4 to start. Let's put all the rest of these away, and that way we can just focus on a few at a time and not get so carried away. All right. The front panel, I think I want these coffee cups as the front panel. Now, when I made the cut, if you want to base it with a mat, you need to cut this as your mat and this as your pattern. That's how I have the setup, a mat and a pattern. So it's up to you if you mat your card or not. And so I grabbed some cardstock. I got a pile. I grabbed some cardstock colors that work. So I have my vellum. I have some off-white or some white so that I can use that. Espresso would look really great, right? This color is papaya. And you know what? Papaya looks amazing with that. And you can use the light side or the dark side. I really like that papaya color. I also had some scraps of paprika, which is a darker kind of orangey, like fall color. And so depending on your card, you know, this darker color looks really nice too. I think I'm going to use the darker. I'm surprised at my choice, but I'm going to use the darker color. Okay, and then I also I have some of that copper if I wanted to play with that a little bit. And I also grabbed Lagoon because there's a lot of this Lagoon color in these papers. Today, I'm just going to use the orangier color. So I'm just going to use the paprika. I think I'm going to set the papaya aside. I like it too, but all right. I have a stack that coordinates with my paper, and I have a lot of scrap of this. So this is a great one for me to use. Honestly, it's a pain to have all these crazy scraps. And so I'm like, let's just cut these up. I don't want them all. I want to use them up. All right. So we're going to start. Set everything aside. Get our trimmer. Our first piece, the big piece, is 3 5/8 by 6 7/8. So 3, and we're going to go over 5/8. My fingernails don't work as well on this board. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8, right? Just make sure it's nice and straight. Cut it. This is scrap. And then we need 6 7/8, which is right there. If you, on mine, it's like 1 mark, you know, before the 7. So we have 6 7/8 right there. And do you see how that leaves just a tiny, nice white border? Look how beautiful that is. Love it. Okay, let's do the next cut. Let's do the inner cut for that. Basically, we just knock it down a little bit so that the edge will show. Ooh, that's pretty too, isn't it? Okay, but we're going to use this one. It is 3 3/8. 1, 2, 3. Set that aside. And we're going to turn it and do 6 5/8 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scrap. Now we have this beautiful border that is going to go on the front of our card. Okay. The next measurement, the next measurement is the panel. And I think my panel, I'm just going to keep mostly white. So I'm going to skip the panel. And the next mark is for this, all of these stripes, this one, this one, this one, and this one. These upper and lower stripes are 1 7/8. No, 1 3/8, sorry. And then that is if you want to mat them. Now I'm just going to full on put a pattern on these. I'm not going to put the paprika mat. So I'm going to just cut my pattern to fit here and here the way I want. And which pattern do I want? I think I just want this pattern. It's kind of a light pattern. That's so cool. And so I'm just gonna flip my paper and I'm just gonna cut that 1 2 3/8 long. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the front and the back. Like you could use, you know, you could use the front here and the back here, whatever you want. Okay, so this one is going to be 2 1 2 3/8. There's one. And then I'm gonna do another one at 2 1 2 3/8. Now, that is the top and the bottom of that piece. So just to get it out of the way, we know where we want this to be. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on just so it's out of my way. Otherwise, I got all these pieces laying all over the place and I don't want to deal with that. Okay. So I'm just gonna put that on there. 1 3/8 by 2 3/8. Nice, right? And then I have my panel for the front. I could go ahead and put that on as well. Do I want it orangey? No, I like the dark. I'm gonna put that on. And I wanna put this little cute coffee cup on there too. These papers go together so well that I feel like it doesn't matter which paper you choose, they're all going to coordinate. That was kind of the situation with that other stamp set or paper pack that I got. Is I think you could do this with any brand of paper that comes in a pack that coordinates. So our next thing that we want to do is the upper here and the upper here, knowing that this panel and this panel are going to be a little bigger and may show more, and this one will be our card front. So colors, you know, this is the other color that we kind of chose, and I think it needs to be this one. I like this one too. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? I don't know which one to use, you guys. This one's a little weird with the orange, but it goes with it, the orange. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cut that center. I'm gonna cut the center piece before I cut the tops. So 2 3/8 by 3 7/8, and that's if I don't want it matted. So do I want it? I think I want it in paprika first. Let's see how big this scrap is. This will need to be 2 3/8. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, just enough. That's awesome. Okay. Look at that. I love using up my scraps. 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. And I just counted over to 7/8. Okay. And then that gives me my piece that will go right here. The other thing that you could do to make this really cool coffee looking is use your distress ink or brown ink to edge everything, and it would just make it look even cooler, you know? Okay, we have another piece here, but I think that one I may hold off on because that's where I'm going to write my message to the person. I may just do a little stamp in there. So all I really have left is this upper. And then what are we going to do? I think the swirls is the answer. I could do this one. I think the swirls is the answer. I'm sorry if you disagree. Okay, so we're back to that 1 3/8 mark. 1, 2, 3, 1 3/8. Set that aside. And now these are longer. You can see these are longer. So this one is going to be 3 and, hold on, I gotta read it again. 3 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another one. 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scrap. All right, now we're ready to attach that coffee as well. Oh, it's just so cute. Gosh, picking a side. I'm gonna see, you almost need to make a whole bunch of these cards just so you can use all the cool papers. And like, I don't want a scrapbook page that's like orange, right? But a card, who cares? It's really neat looking anyway. But if I did this on a scrapbook page, I would use more of the lagoon colors, you know what I mean? All right, so there's that. Look how cool that looks, you guys. The only piece we have left to cut is this main panel, and I do I want it this color? I kind of think it needs to be like a brown. Ooh, yes it does. Okay, so I could just use a cardstock brown, but I'm going to cut this one 4 7/8 by 3 7/8. So here's 3 7/8. Scrap. And 4 7/8. Now see, do you see what I'm doing here? How I have these scraps like this and these pieces like this? It'd be super easy to just make a second card and just keep cutting, right? That is awesome. I like this turquoisey color too, but this one is the winner. All right, I really shouldn't be doing this on top of my trimmer. It makes it a little harder to use. All right, ta-da. Now I'm ready to decorate. Put the trimmer away for a minute. My trimmer is easier to see on camera, but it's not the one I use every day. I use my big choppy trimmer. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, I have my pieces and parts. And where's my stamps? And I think I need a few stamps. So I have my espresso ink pad. And I just have to decide what the heck I want to do. So one of the things I thought about doing was, you know, just putting this across here, but I'm not going to on this one. I think that's a little much. So, but I do like the idea of this. So I don't know if you guys have ever bought doilies, but basically, you know how sometimes there's like a one of these put under the mug, you know, like at the restaurant or diner or whatever. I'm just gonna put that on there. Here, I'll put one of my blocks on there so it'll glue down while I decide what else I want to do. I love the idea of the two coffee cups being on the front and deciding which ones, I don't know. And I love this little coffee pot. And gosh, what to use? Oh, I like this one. That is really neat. Okay. All right. Let me get out my ink. I really love the idea of this being inked a little bit, but I don't want it like over the top inked. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of espresso. And I am going to use the lightest touch ever. I am not hardly going to touch it. I don't want gobs of ink on here. I just want a little bit of color. Okay, that works. And I think that's glued down. I am going to put this here. Yep, I love it. I could do foam, but I guess this is vellum. I need to be a little bit careful about where I put the glue. All right, it'll probably show now. Put that there. My vellum that Steve brought me is like, it's almost like a cardstock. It's crazy thick, so it doesn't show. All right. I love these coffee cups. And look at the little, I could do a little spoon. Like on the table, spoon. And then what else do I have? See, like these coffee cups would look good too. Cute, cute, cute. You guys, what do I use? There's so many neat things. You could even do the coffee pot and the two little mugs. I love that. All right, I could do a little cup down here. Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And I think this one, I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of foam tape. I don't know if that's big, too big. No, that's perfect. This is that super thin foam tape, so I'm not making my card super bulky. I love that. Hold that for our next one. I have my little spoon. And I'm gonna put that down. And remember, I'm gonna put a message on here also. And this one gets glued down. Have I lost everybody with my crazy card, or is it all good? I'm like, how are you feeling about this? I don't know. I'm going to use my little foam tape trip. Just so I don't have to use so much foam. Now, one of the things, Stampin' Up! Does carry sticky back foam. I looked that up as soon as I signed up because I was like, I use so much of it. I love that. Okay. Now, we just need messages and coffee beans. I have coffee beans to put on everywhere. And so I'm going to put some coffee beans down here. I inked these up in so many colors. I did the light side of espresso, the dark side of espresso, the paper that it comes in. I did like everything you can imagine. And so it is kind of fun to like just put them all over and make them mix and match a little bit so they're not all identical. And I'm gonna put another one down there. The fun thing about the coffee beans is if you are into the glaze at all, like the dimensional glaze. Let me grab it. There's all different brands. This is close to my heart's liquid glass brand, but once I'm done stamping, I'll just put the liquid glass on here and it'll make the beans look really shiny and real. Real. It's so cool. The other brand, this is Ranger's Glossy Accents. I just get my hands in it if I do it now, so I'll have to wait a minute. All right, let's talk about a message. How about hello there, let's catch up. Or you're the best part of my day. Oh, I like that. Let's do that one. You're the best part of my day. And I'm just gonna stamp that in. Ooh, I feel like I need paprika ink. I do. I'm gonna do that in paprika ink. And I just need some cardstock. Oh, I got a piece under here. And first time I use that stamp, so I may stamp it again just to make sure I get a good image. Oh yeah, that's better. I love that. I think I'm going to, this let's catch up is not my kind of phrase, but I love the hello there. And so I'm going to do a little stamp surgery. You guys are going to be like, ah, but I don't use let's catch up. I just call people or text people. And so I am just cutting that part off. I can always still use it. It's not like I'm throwing it away. It says let's catch up and it's still totally usable. Okay. I'm just rubbing that to get it. It's a kind of a bigger stamp. Hello there. Wow, that's really cool. The other thing this has is those coffee splotches, and that kind of coordinates with this paper. So I'm going to put a couple of splotches on here. I might be good in second generation, so I'm going to go over that once and then maybe do another little. Oh, I love it. Okay, yeah, I wanted to do that. All right, let's just do that. And I'm just gonna, there. I love it, I love it. What do you think? And then we have this steam, we have these beans. I could put more, you know, more beans around. I don't need them though. I think I'm basically done. Now I just need to cut my image or my message. So I am going to, should have probably used my trimmer, but that's okay. I'll make it work. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. You're the best part of my day. Very crooked. I am not always a straight cutter. I'm like that person with the haircut where you trim a little and then you have to trim the other side and then you have to trim the other side, and you know, this right here needs a little something. And I'm thinking about putting this coffee circle right in the middle. I could even do another cup, but I think just this is really cool. One of the tricks on cardstock, if you want something soft and you don't want it to be overwhelming, let me grab it. I have a White Daisy ink pad, okay? And it is very juicy. Like, you don't push hard on it. It's a pigment pad. It'll take a while to dry. Don't get too carried away with it, right? But I'm just going to stamp that image, and it is going to dry in a way that is almost sheer. And I think I'm also going to put that, since I'm playing, and I've already gone over an hour now, yikes. I think I'm going to put the steam lines in here also, like that. This would be an amazing spot for a gift card too. Like, if you were going to make this card for somebody, just imagine like having like a really cool little gift card attached right there. So when they open the card, it's just a part of it. I love that idea. So that way, if you did want to give, you know, a coffee thing, or you wanted to give something to the Starbucks lady or whatever. Oh gosh, that's so cool. So cool, y'all. I don't know why I'm foam taping the inside of my card. That tends to be a big no-no for me, because I like my cards to kind of fold more flat. But this card is so special, and the way it folds is not, look. Ah, yes, 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 yes. Love it. It's so awesome. Do I want to put a couple more little beans there? I do. I think I do. I'm going to just put a glob there and a glob there. Now, the other thing you could do to this, if you really want to doctor it up even more. All right, come on, Connie. I should get that pick tool. I should get my little sticky tool out so I can do this without fingernails. Add a few gems. I have some, you know, the gems that came with this set. It was part of a bundle. And the gems kind of coordinate with the paper. So that's kind of a neat idea too. like, you know, you could put a couple of gems. All right, there we go. Boom and boom, 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 done. It's done. Now, if, you know, you can keep going, you can keep going. I could get a little piece of ribbon down here, or a little, you know, those fun, funky, funny messages. You know, you could put something coffee pun down here. It would be really cute. Okay, so time for the very last bit, and that's the glossy accents or the liquid glass. And basically, I'm just putting a glob on each bean, right? And the idea is to make those beans look really glossy and dimensional. They will look real because they'll look 3D. And now I need to let this dry flat, because you can see it kind of looks milky when you put it on, and it will dry completely clear and dimensional. Ah. Bravo. Love this so much. I hope you guys love it too. And I want to see your cards. I don't care what brand you use. I want to see what you make using this cool style. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.